I figured today what I would do is go live, do a little bit of a life update, do some ask me anythings that will come from my TikTok channel on speaking skills about my journey as a nomad right now in Bali, any of the topics that I tend to speak about. I am promoting my Speak for Yourself course, which is going to begin on June 3rd. I'm going to be doing a lot of speaking skills content. I want to let people who might be appropriate students for the course to come into it. But also, if the course isn't appropriate for you, then I want to make sure that you have ideas, that you have skills, because I believe that almost everyone can benefit from better both speaking skills and communication skills, and that we can always be improving. The application for both is far reaching, inclusive, whether you have a business or a social media platform, whether you are a teacher or a manager, whether you uh, run meetings or present content in your job or to the public, speaking skills are super important. And generally, communication skills, which is the larger umbrella, are also so important because the skill and facility and ability to be nuanced and open and be a strong listener and communicate our desires are all so critical for having the types of relationships that we want to deepen into, that we want to experience as love and wholeness and fullness. If you're a parent, communication skills are super important. So I teach speaking skills through the lens of an acting framework when we're talking about the technicalities and the personal growth of speaking as a process. And I speak about communication skills through the lens of polarity and embodiment and connection, and in all the ways that they overlap to the rich ecosystem that is being a human being in relationship to not only to ourselves, but also to our loved ones and to people in the world. I recently posted a 3-part series on interrupting and being an interrupter and what to do if you have a loved one who tends to be an interrupter. There are often the people who tend to be more likely to interject or interrupt, and others who can be triggered by and hurt by and quite upset by being interrupted, and sometimes that shuts them down even more. And why I speak about this is because it's a central part of both speaking, listening, and general communication and relationship that in my own life has been painful. It's been the source of a lot of pain in a few of my central relationships, most notably with my sister and with my now ex-husband, who are both very deep processors. They think about things in deep ways and they process information slowly, whereas my ADHD brain that has so many thoughts all at the same time and wants to communicate them as quickly as possible, and that gets excited when I understand something that someone else is sharing and want to respond to them and create more synthesis within the conversation. I tend to jump in really quickly, and that often can create a beautiful, fun, dynamic conversation with someone whose communication style is similar. And we can have this vibrant, enlivened dance of a back and forth that can be so powerful and creative and beautiful. But if someone is more of a slow processor, that personality type of mine can cause pain and feel like a major affront and damaging. And it took me many, many years to realize that not everyone thinks and processes information the same way I do. In fact, it was when I realized I have an ADHD-like brain that it became clear to me that not everybody else does. And so when I realized that not everyone thinks and processes information in the same way that I do, it made me realize that my way could be painful and difficult for people who are slower. So all the times that some loved ones had said, I feel like you don't care what I'm thinking, or you're trying to overrun me, or you're trying to be right, suddenly made sense to me in a different way. And so when I was able to have this conversation, in particular, I remember this conversation with my sister where I described to her how my brain works and why I tend to jump in sometimes. And we had this meeting of seeing each other in a different new way and a deepening of understanding that healed so much, because in that moment she understood a little bit more about the wildness of my mind, my brain, and she was able to see it through the lens of excitement and enthusiasm and intensity that previously she had just seen as me trying to, like, oppress her opinion. Or and for me, understanding that her brain process was slow and deep, and that even though she didn't have the same style to jump right in the way that I do, that she still wanted space for her thoughts and her ideas. And so that awareness has made so much difference for me in my ability to see the person I'm communicating with and realize, okay, this person's a slower processor. The job now for you, Lisa, is to breathe and pause and show that you're present with the other person. And it did not come easily to me. It's been a journey. And so what I want to say is that whichever side of this equation you might be on, know that it's possible for us to have compassion for the other experience. When we are or be or experience life or ourselves or other people in a particular way, it is possible, although sometimes difficult, to have compassion for a very different worldview and experience. But this seems like one of the rich opportunities for us as human beings in relationship to others, and sometimes takes, some time and some pain and sometimes some loss or errors or things that you sometimes then might have to go back and fix. Sometimes you do damage. Sometimes it's damaging relationships that is the thing that teaches you to see things a different way. So it's been a humbling thing for me. So this interrupting series that we posted in the last couple of days, it attempts to shed light on the experience of the other side of that dynamic. The intention is that if you're someone who tends to interrupt, to give ideas for how you can interact differently so that your relationships can deepen and so that they can be a positive place for love and growth and healing. And so that the person you're interacting with can feel more seen and known in ways that might challenge you, but can be really rewarding and fulfilling. And if you're someone who is on the receiving end and tend to feel injured, damaged, affronted, oppressed by feeling interrupted, there's a process for you too. Sometimes that means getting clearer on your voice, getting more confident about bringing your voice into the conversation, because sometimes the people on that side of the dynamic don't feel confidence in bringing their voice, who don't know how to interject their point, or who don't trust themselves to speak up and to share, and then often will then feel triggered and resentful. So I'm coming at this from many different points. If you're on that side of the equation, it's possible that there's an opportunity for you to learn to trust your voice and to find ways to bring it into the conversation, to interject your thoughts and your perspective. And there's also the possibility of not taking the interruption that you're experiencing as personal. I think sometimes if we experience someone interrupting us as personal, that can shut us down even more. And then we are even less likely to feel comfortable bringing our voice in.